Hello, this is John Steenhuisen. Unfortunately, I'm not able to take your call right now. Please do not leave a message.
Alan, Windy, pick up the phone.
The requested number is not available at the moment. Please.
Shut up.
You have reached the mailbox of Dan Plato.
Shut up, man. Damn it.
At the tone, record your message.
Hallo?
Marius, Koen.
Wat?
Dis Selwyn hier van Roof on Top Channel.
Ek luister.
Ons wil weet, nee, Bongi was gesuspend oor imaginary degrees. Is jy bekommerd op hierdie stadium? Daar's aantekening dat jy ook met jou degrees gespeel het.
Maar nou, ek verstaan jou, jy is van Rooftop, waar
Ja.
pas dit nou in?
Roof on Top Channel, social media.
Wat is Rooftop, wat is dit?
Ons praat met, ek het vanoggend met Bongi gesels. Interview gedoen, onderhoud gedoen, ja.
Ok, maar as jy nou enige korrespondensie wil hê rondom met die DA hoofkantoor, hanteer ons alles.
Ja.
So alles werk deur die DA hoofkantoor.
O, okay.
Dit werk deur ons individue nie, hoor.
So jy kan nie kommentaar lewer nie, né?
Ons het gevra nie, verstaan jy wat
O, ek verstaan.
Dis was nou, daar's mos 'n hele klomp mense wat op verskillende sfere van regering aangekla word.
Ja.
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 Wat nou gebeur is, dit was nou verskillende, dit moet ons aan die party gehanteer word. As jy net vir ons weet hoe ons is op die party gaan. Die party hanteer nou al die
Ja. Maar het jy graad of nie?
ek gaan jou nie uit alles gaan doen.
Wow. Ek verstaan.
Doen jou navraag.
Ja.
Na die dinge toe en hulle sal jou antwoord.
Dis reg. Lekker dag, Marius Koen. Tot ziens. Bye. Ja, jy weet, Marius skoene. Kan nie antwoord gee nie. Tertuis.
Goeiedag, my naam is Tertuis, wetenskaps- en provinciale insettings. Gelukkig het tans beskikbaar nie, los op die naam.
Bang is maar as ek kan is. Bonginkosi. Success. Madikizela. How's it going?
I'm fine, sir. How are you?
Good. Selwyn here from Roof on Top. On top. You're the Western Cape Provincial Minister of Transport and Public Works. Fantastic job, eh? How's things? Are you still suspended?
Yes, of course.
Oh, for 2 weeks, eh? Premier Alan Windy is Gary Van. Tell me. So he suspends you for 2 weeks. What was you doing in the 2 weeks? Find a degree or what?
Come again?
He suspends you for 2 weeks. What was you doing 2 weeks? Find a degree or was you think about it, stand in the corner?
Yeah, what?
Life goes on. Tell me, Bongi, are you an honest man? I want to tell you a story. A few years ago, actually a good couple of years ago, I left my job at the bank. I started a courier company. And this whole thing failed. And this guy that I was going to subcontract as a contractor in airport industry, he said to me, there will always be work for a good man. Are you a good man? Are you an honest man?
I'm a very good man.
You think? Okay.
I make mistakes like everyone else, but I'm a very good man.
Yeah, ons is allemaal mens. We're all human.
I have no doubt about that.
You were once as a car guard, eh?
Yes.
Many years ago.
I worked for a junction in the car guard, yeah.
Okay, you worked your way, so. You know, I don't know, a lot of people don't probably know this. Bonginkosi, Success, Madikizela. I almost want to say Mandela. People don't know that Mama Winnie Mandela was actually your aunt.
Yeah, no, sure. Yeah.
She was your aunt, eh? And I read on the Wikipedia that at some point she sent couriers to you to try and sway you from not joining the Democratic Alliance.
Well, she actually was
not very happy with me joining the DA.
Yeah.
But she wanted to stop me because before I joined the DA, we had to, we broke away from the ANC and formed the independent candidate and became independent candidates for the local government election.
Yeah.
So she wanted to stop me from doing that. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. She sent some people to talk to me about.
Yeah. So from the ANC you went to UDM Bantu-Lamisa, and then you ended up at the Democratic Alliance. Helen Ziller, she took you under her wings, so it appears. Do you think she did that because of your history and your family connection to Winnie Mandela? Were you a trophy at the time? What do you think?
No, I think she did that because she wanted people who will grow the party, people who understood the communities and the dynamics of the communities that the party wanted to attract. And of course, with my background, Coalition Development Forum, also
Kailitsa,
independent candidate leader, she knew that I was one of the right people for the job.
Yeah, okay, let's talk about that. When you say about candidates, you are obviously black. You know, it's the elephant in the room. You got suspended, Natasha, at the same crossroads. She wasn't suspended. How do you feel about Natasha also just having a matric? John Steenhuisen's got a matric. Natasha, nothing's going to happen to her, or so it appears.
I'm the kind of a person who takes responsibility for his own actions. I don't want to draw moral equivalence here.
Okay, all right.
And I think it's for the public to make the judgment
Public.
about how the party
All right.
with this matter.
Yeah, judgment has been made. Yeah.
So, but as far as I'm concerned, I need to take responsibility for my own actions.
Yes.
And the public that must, and the observers who must really see how the party is reacting to these and make a judgment.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. But I mean, if you look at the dynamics and how things play out now, especially on social media and everything that's happening now, everything that's been said now, you know, if we just step back, if you look at Winnie Mandela, when she passed away, and if you talk about your family dynamics, were you guys offended when Julius Malema, or so it appears, that took all the credit in terms of relationship, Mama Winnie, and what he perpetuated even at the funeral? Were you guys put on the back foot as a family?
Oh, not at all.
Not at all.
I attended the ceremony as well.
Okay.
I was part of the family members.
Yeah.
Mama Winnie loved Julius. They had a special relationship.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and so I was never offended at all. Because,
Okay.
I mean, I think even her, that's the role that she would have liked Julius to play.
Yeah.
Because of the special relationship they had.
Yeah. If we focus a little bit, I spoke to Musi Maimane 2 weeks ago. You know, Tony Leon's book that came out, Failure. I felt at the time, and I actually told Musi Maimane, you shouldn't have given up, you shouldn't have resigned and left. Are you going to give up? Are you going to resign? Are you going to fight the good fight from within? Where to from now? For Bonginkosi.
I'm the leader of the people there, sir.
Okay.
And I listen to what the people are saying, and I must say that there's been an overwhelming support from the GA members and the GA leaders in particular, and across, the racial spectrum.
Okay.
So that's encouraging. I mean, because we mustn't pretend to be saints. I think from time to time, all of us do make mistakes, and the important thing is that when you make that mistake, you must take responsibility.
All right.
And that is why sometimes some people pretend to be saints, they pretend to be pure, they pretend to be people who never make mistakes in their lives. really, there are many people from the PA who are really supportive of me, and I'm very happy with that.
Yeah. James Selfie, John Steenhuisen, Premier Alan Windy, Alan Ziller, are they supporting you in this time?
Well, I wouldn't want to mention names.
All right. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Julius Malema always alluded to the fact that Alan Ziller is a racist. Is that true?
Well, I've worked with Alan Ziller for more than 13 years.
13 years.
13 years. So I worked in her office as the stakeholder relations person, and she appointed me to her cabinet for 10 years. She's a robust person. She's vocal, she's controversial. I mean, you can call her all the names. But honestly, I don't think she's racist.
Okay, all right.
For me, but I do think though that she feels very aggrieved that despite her efforts to diversify the party, people still label her as a racist.
Okay.
And I think part of the reason why she's now, retreating, if I can put it that way, from pursuing that project is because maybe, according to her, she realizes that it doesn't matter what she does. I mean, whatever she does, people always label her. But, I mean, as someone who has worked with her very close, I must be honest, we have many differences, and I've never really seen her as a racist.
Yeah, all right. Okay, fair enough. I want to ask you a question. I'm actually standing here next to the roadside, the train lines. We're busy fixing a roof here. If we talk about, because you also, you part of your portfolio is transport. The trains, the failure with the trains, who takes responsibility? Fakile Malula, who takes responsibility? Your guys? The looting and power cables, trains committing suicide, burning in Cape Town. Did you guys ever catch anyone? Who do you think is responsible?
No, definitely it's TRASA and the national government.
Okay.
TRASA is a national entity. I mean, as much as I've been working very closely with TRASA to help and deal with the problem, but I certainly cannot take responsibility for their failures because I have no constitutional powers to fix the problem itself.
And when we're talking about the taxi violence, all the issues with the taxi, especially there in Belleville, everywhere you see they popping up on pieces of lands, they're parking there. Obviously it's affecting the people, there's the property value. Are you guys ever going to solve the problem? Do you think you can solve the problem? Because if you look at lockdown, especially in the heart of last year's lockdown, where the taxis were loaded full capacity, churches were closed. What do you have to say about that? You think it was justice? They did their transporting coronavirus in a taxi to the malls, to the shops.
You see, here's the problem. I mean, there was 500 billion rand that was put aside by government to deal with many things, and among those things was to deal with the financing of businesses who have suffered a huge loss during this coronavirus. And government stole that money.
Is money stolen?
So if you are in the shoes of those businesses, including the taxi, there was a time when we had to shut down when we were at level 5 and level 4.
Okay.
Those people were never compensated. Now, you can't say in perpetuity people must continue complying, but you're not supporting them financially.
Yeah.
So you must strike the balance between the two.
Yeah.
And that is why I understood where the cases were coming from.
Okay.
But as long as people are complying, there's no evidence even now that the transport industry he was a super spreader of the virus. I think, the question that people were asking is that if you expect the aeroplane to load people to the capacity, why not the taxi?
Yeah, airplane is another story. SAA, they got wings but they can't fly, like chickens. Bongi, I want to ask you now. You were also part of the housing a few years ago. The issue on the Cape Flats, the influx of the immigration, foreigners also coming into the country, but in particular the issue in Houtpai. I'm sure you are familiar with the issue in Houtpai. People being shot. People feel that they're being treated unfairly. There was the situation where Dan Plato, told the one guy to shut up. What is your take on now we're talking about in particular the Kallard community being put on the back foot?
First of all, the word influx is a politically incorrect word. But the reality is that you have in-migration of people coming from all parts of South Africa to the Western Cape, because we are the best run province in South Africa, and of course you also people coming from outside the country.
Yeah.
But we have to make sure, particularly in the provision of housing, and that you know that it's municipality's responsibility to make sure that their housing demand database or waiting list prioritize people who've been on the waiting list the longest. And that's the point that I've been making all along. Because it doesn't matter your race. It can never be right that someone arrives in Western Cape 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and that person gets a house before a person who's been on the waiting list for 20, 30 years. That can never be right.
But how do you solve the problem? That's my question. How do you solve it? It's not being solved. What are you guys going to do?
But it's easy to solve it. Just make sure that you don't jump and prioritize people who are not on the waiting list just because they are living on these shacks. Yes, municipalities have a responsibility to provide basic services for people who are living in shacks.
I also feel that, sometimes you guys are turning a blind eye to the fact that corruption is taking place, money is exchanging hands, and I think that needs to, take preference. You guys need to sort that out. But how far does the rabbit hole go? See, that's the other issue.
Come again?
I mean, how deep does the rabbit hole go? We're talking about corruption and money being exchanging hands, and people are basically buying RDP houses, and so it appears. You understand? How do you solve the problem?
But my view, and I'm on record saying this.
Okay.
It's not the government of business to be building houses for people. Because we can't sustain that. The role of government should be providing infrastructure so that people can start building their own homes.
Yeah.
Fix roads.
Homes.
Put bulk infrastructure.
Yeah.
Fix land. Subdivide that land.
Yeah.
And make sure that people start building their own homes.
Homes, yes. Because
never sustain building three houses for
yeah.
people, because it's just madness.
Yeah. Because there's a difference between a house and a home. And, I adopted this opinion that government should stop spoon-feeding people, stop handing out food parcels. You saw what happened with the commentary of Zoa with Angus McKenzie, that they, the video that they clipped out. But all political parties are doing it, even though they're trying to deny it. They give food parcels. Some put their names on it, or the party's name on it. People must get jobs so that they can create their own. Yeah.
No, let's be frank.
Okay.
It's immoral to give people food because you are buying votes. But we must not underestimate the level of poverty in our province.
I agree.
Especially now after COVID.
And the desperation as well. Yeah.
And therefore, there's absolutely nothing wrong with giving people food parcels so that they can at least put something on the table. Because I was once very poor. I know the situation that those people are facing. So for us then to provide food parcels for people, because providing money is not a solution, because you don't know where that money is going to end up.
Yeah.
But I fully support providing food parcels for the most poorest and vulnerable people of our society who cannot put food on the table.
Yeah. You probably saw now Derek Selwyn was found guilty murdering George Floyd. Just over the weekend, Lindani got shot and killed, in Hawaii. Black man, rugby player. Your brother got murdered many years ago. How do you feel? Is there justice for black people in this country being murdered?
I didn't get the last part about the person, the name of the person who was murdered.
I'm not sure if you heard Landani Meani. He was a rugby player. He moved to Hawaii. He got shot by police over the weekend in Hawaii. They still busy investigating. But I also read that your own brother, also got murdered. If we look at specifically on the Cape Flats, how people get murdered every day. Do you think there'll ever be justice? Do you think we'll ever solve, people go to prison, they come out, even that, what's that guy's name, Prinsloo, that sold guns to the gangs of the Cape Flats. I think he did 4 years towards end of last year he came out. He's out. I mean, this guy did a terrible thing. People got murdered. But it seems that there's things happening behind the scenes. People are coming out that's doing these crimes. And we all need to survive. What's your take on it? I mean, it's affected your life. Your own brother got murdered.
You see, unfortunately, we have a criminal justice system in South Africa that is dysfunctional. We will always fight to lose in that way if the government is controlled by the underworld, my brother, because that's what is happening. I mean, you saw, I mean, I'm sure you read the book, The President's Keepers.
Yes.
By Jack Koen.
Yes.
How the underworld is controlling the government, and how these people, I mean, the gangsters and the killers, have connections in the higher echelons of government and the police. And as long as you have that relationship and the criminal justice system that is dysfunctional, unfortunately, to answer your question, it will be difficult for people to get justice in those situations, because the punishment doesn't fit the crime.
Yeah. Now, obviously, this guy got found guilty of murdering George Floyd by the jury. Maybe South Africa should adopt those type of justice systems. The jury, the people must speak, because inevitably, in the community, I asked this question to a lot of guys, prominent in the community, gangsters, guys coming from out of prison, and they all tell me the same thing. The people of the community, it's their own fault because they don't stand up. But obviously people get intimidated, people get shot, witnesses get killed. So, it's a catch-22 if you look at it that way. Anyways, talking about that crime and all these things, there's this thing with pastor, politician, the police, and the prisoner. And it all starts with a P, if you think about it. There's this thing that they all connect at some point. Do you think, if you look at Jesus and the story of Jesus and the cross, when Judas sold him out, do you think when we look at lockdown last year and we reflect on what happened with the churches, right? We should be a pillar of hope. Did you think the politician het hom verraai, or was it the pastor that initially allowed the politician into the church to speak to the people for votes? Who do you think is the culprit?
Culprit for allowing politicians to speak in the church for votes?
Yeah, the pastor allowed the politician into the church, and then when COVID happened, the politician closed the church. You get what I'm asking you? Yeah, who's the Judas here?
I'm struggling to hear you. The network is so bad.
Oh, yeah. Come on, man. I lost you there for a moment, but yeah, Bonginkosi Madikizela. Can you hear me? I lost you there for a second. Yeah, the network is a bit bad. But yeah, thanks for your time. You know, thanks for talking to us.
The signal is bad.
Yeah, I can. Yeah. But yeah, thanks for talking to us. Just the last question. You said you made mistakes. The fact that you never had a degree and it was listed as such, was that the mistake that you made?
Well, there's a long story behind that, but I still have to appear before the internal bodies of the party and government, and so I would rather, state it there.
All right, I understand. Okay, thanks for your time. Enjoy your day. Okay, goodbye. I spoke to Bongi Madikizela, suspension. I tried to get hold of Natasha. I spoke to Koen. Tertuis is not answering.
Well, Tertuis and Bongi are both in the same meeting.
Oh, okay.
I know because I spoke to two of their colleagues earlier.
All right.
Natasha, I don't know. She might be in the assembly. Who knows?
Your take on Bongi's suspension? Are you allowed to speak about it?
I don't really have a view. I think he has explained the matter quite well. I'd leave that for my party to resolve.
All right.
He's not in my caucus. I don't share a caucus with him, and I don't sit in judgment of him. The disciplinary process that is undertaken is not one that I participate in. So
can I
observe what's happening,
yes.
and I wait for the outcome of the process. I'm subject to the same processes as they are. So.
All right. Do you think it's ironic or convenient that now, after all these years, that when he applied he put himself forward for Dan Plato's position, that they discovered he doesn't have a degree?
I think the timing is a little bit freakish.
Yeah.
I do think the timing is more than a bit strange.
It is, eh?
I have my own theories about the matter, but again, those are not proper for public consumption.
All right. Natasha?
I have some strong views on the matter.
Yeah.
But I don't have. That's not something I have a privilege to comment on.
And your intelligence, surely they must be telling you something.
The city doesn't have the privilege of crime intelligence. That's a national competency.
Okay.
And if they did, what we do know is the city, in terms of our strategic information service, is not political. I don't do any political information gathering.
Natasha also now in the firing line. Will she be suspended for claiming to have a degree? First graad?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. Again, I don't get to participate in those disciplinary processes. They are above my pay grade. I'm a minion very far down the food chain. Those happen at federal level. So we will see what happens.
Okay.
But consistency is important. So let's see what happens.
And Tertuis?
I think Minister Simmons has clarified the misrepresentations around his qualifications. So it does not appear to me that there is an issue around his qualification.
All right. Thanks for talking to us. Have a nice day.
Yeah, sorry I can't be more helpful, but I stay in my lane. I know what I'm entitled to talk about.
Stay in my lane. Alan Zilla always say that, eh? Yeah, you guys all speak the same. It's probably the boredom.
I always was used by a colleague of mine earlier this morning, and so I'm actually borrowing the phrase.
All right, stay in your lane. All right, JP Smith. Have a nice day. Goodbye.
Natasha, hello.
Hi, Natasha. Selwyn from the Roof on Top channel. How are you doing?
I'm fine, and you?
Good. So, want some comment? around the degrees. Graden, first graden.
Yeah, no, don't worry. We're taking them on.
How is it? I spoke to Bongi this morning. Because I'm coming from him. Are they going to suspend you as well?
No, they're not suspending me.
Okay. Are you safe?
I'm safe. I have proof that I finished. I've never lied about my degree.
All right.
And I have proof of my articles. I have proof of my legal course that I completed.
Okay.
I have proof of everything, and I have proof from the universities as well.
And Bongi?
I don't know.
Any comment on that? No comment.
I haven't spoken to him at all.
All right. And Koen?
Okay.
Mr. Koen?
I have no idea about him either. Unfortunately, I buried my father today, so I
Oh,
haven't
I'm so
spoken
sorry
him
to hear.
anyway.
All right. All the best to you. All right.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Alan Windy, pick up the phone.
The requested number is not available.